everybody. I'm Cassidy, one of your Indianapolis Colts cheerleaders, and you're watching the Believe in Colts podcast.
Welcome back to Believe in Colts. I'm Lawrence Owen with my guy, Donald Thomas, and today we're going to go over maybe the most heartbreaking game of the year so far for the Indianapolis Colts. It's a game where, for the most part of this game, I feel like you really can't complain what you've got from the offense or the defense outside of maybe two things, right? Two things that you could say, okay, this needs cleaned up. But outside of that, I feel like that this is a team that really performed way better than I expected, especially offensively, considering they went up against the number one defense in the league and was able to put up 38. In my opinion, should have been closer to 60 in this game. Right. Donald, what was your initial reaction after the game was over?
Well, you take everything, you look at the silver lining in the whole issue, right? I mean, the Colts overperformed a lot better than what I think anybody really expected. Me and you both had this being a low-scoring game. I can't remember what my prediction was again, but it was not 39-38. I tell you that. It was nowhere near that. I did predict the Colts to lose. Unfortunately, the way and the fashion they lost is heartbreaking. I'm much more comfortable with seeing a team lose by 7, a field goal, 14, something where it's a definitive loss, and you can go and pick and choose, okay, these two plays are the main plays that really decided this football game, as opposed to just how it all transpired across the whole game, right? And really at the very, very end, where I think the Colts really played their hearts out yesterday, and they just came up short at the end, and that's part of the game. And sometimes you can't leave it into other people's hands. But I mean, we'll get into it in a second here, and I'll give you my 2 cents on it. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of positive to take from this game. A loss is a loss. That's the unfortunate part about it. You can't go back in time and do things differently. But there's plays that happen throughout the course of this game that are the reason why the Colts lost, and they deserved to lose because of those. But there's reasons why they deserve to win too. So it's kind of rough, right, when you look at it from both sides of the spectrum.
Absolutely. And before we get into the rest of this, I just got to remind everybody that BetOnline is your number one source for all your betting needs. Get your latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, NFL, and more. BetOnline continues to be your fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember, use promo code BLEAV, that's BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Now, obviously, the biggest topic immediately following the game, all the way through to today, was the 2 penalties on Darrell Baker on that 70-plus scoring drive with, like 15 seconds left in the game. Now, I personally, there's a reason why I'm not going to get into it too much. I feel free to let you talk about it all you want. I've made my thoughts very well known on Twitter. Very, very, very well known. But at the same time, the reason why I don't want to get into it too much is because me personally, I'm under the feeling that it shouldn't even came down to that. It should not have came down to that last drive. The Colts should have been in a position, had they had performed properly, that, you don't put the game in a referee's hands for one drive. You can't do that. This is the kind of results that you will get if you do that. You have to put the game away, and you got to put it away early, and you got to protect it, right? That's what you got to do. Don't do what happened this past game. It makes for fun. It makes for a crazy game, and something that people can talk about, not just as Colts and Browns fans, but NFL fans and media and stuff get to talk about this all the time. But I don't want that. I want boring games. I want to see, where the Colts are, just straight up beat the holy crap out of them, right? I mean, that's what I want to see, and most fans of teams want to see that. I do enjoy an occasional close game, but don't put the game in the refs' hands. That's not a recipe for success in the NFL, in my opinion.
Well, you're correct. And the way you're looking at this is through, the lens of a lot of Colts fans, right? I think that's a lens of any fan that's a fan of a certain team, is they just want to win a good definitive win, not one where they're on the edge of their seats the whole game, and then there's all these things that come back to bite you in the butt. And if you look at it from my personal opinion, it's not the last drive. I always look at what transpires throughout the course of the game from the very, very beginning, the very early things that happen that come back to bite you in the butt, right? And so the main thing that sticks out to me is the field goal, right? I said to myself, this is going to come back and haunt them in the end, because the way both of these teams were playing was very, very tight, right? It was back and forth. It was a very close game. It wasn't any time where it was like, oh, this game's out of reach. I did think for a slight bit that Cleveland was going to run away with it, just because I started seeing some like momentum shifts. But the Colts stayed with it for the most part, played pretty decent. And what happened at the end was a one point game where if we didn't get that field goal, that kick block, this is a different ball game. So those are the things that I look at when I'm looking at any team, not just the Colts, but it's the small things that add up, right? It's just the little things that you look at and you're like, okay, hopefully this doesn't come back to bite us in the butt later on, but this thing did. And so when you look at it from a standpoint of missed tackles, when you look at it from a standpoint of just blown assignments, in my opinion, on offense, when you look at it from the blocking up front was pretty decent for the most part. But then there were times where, you had the chance to put your team in a better position, and we get a sack fumble in the end zone, or we get pressure on the quarterback at an inopportune time, where for the Colts, the Colts are not good enough team to recover from those things. When those really, really good teams make those mistakes, the Colts is like, when something like that happens, it's detrimental to the outcome of the game. So overall, the Colts play their butts off scoring the football. Scoring the football is 38 points. You can't take anything away from them. The Browns did an even more exceptional job at scoring the football, because, hey, the starter goes down first, very first quarter. What's his name? PJ Brown, what's his name? Was that
PJ Walker?
PJ Walker, excuse me. He comes in, young kid, does a good job of stepping into an NFL game of command in the offense. Colts got to take advantage of that a little bit more, right? Like, we got to throw some things at them, where now what we talked about a couple weeks ago, right? We talked about you don't just throw the game plan out the window. You don't throw the game plan out the window, but I got to add a couple wrinkles in there where we got to get after this kid. We got to give him we got to mix this thing up a little bit, throw him something exotic that we've been practicing. We may not practice much this week, but we can do it in the game if need be. Let's try some things out. Let's blitz him a little bit more to get him moving out the pocket. So he can throw me a turnover. So, and so those things did not really happen that I saw on the defensively for the Colts. And I felt like we could have taken, impacted the game. Oh, Rodney Thomas, though, that big pick. I was happy to see him kind of recover, because I feel like he's been struggling a little bit this year. Not really struggling, but just not making plays, if that makes sense, right? He's out there. He's been in good spots sometimes. Just make a play. I think this is a big confidence booster for him. Coming into his second year will boost him up to, add some play, because we need our safeties playing better this year.
So if you take away, and I don't want to take this away because it is what it is, that first score for the Browns, that 67-yard run by Jerome Ford, oh my goodness, okay? That was one of only 2 drives that the Browns had that was over 39 yards the entire game, okay?
Mm-hmm.
That one and their last one. Weird. Bookend drives were the only drives the entire game that the Browns offense was able to move the ball more than 39 yards. All right. And I just want to go back to, remember last week when everyone was saying you don't run in a stacked box, you don't run with 7 in the box, 8 in the box. We had 8 in the box. We had 8 in the box. And that's why you run against 8 in the box, because if you get past that second level, gone, right? I mean, that's the opportunity. Now, it's rare. It doesn't happen all the time. But when it does happen, it really boosts the offense and gives you guys a lot, it kind of gives that momentum. A play like that can shift momentum very, very, very quickly, right? You get a big play. I mean, that 75-yard touchdown by Michael Pittman Jr. completely shifted the entire momentum of the game at that point, right? After a couple missed tackles. But what I'm saying is, if you take that 67-yard run away from Jerome Ford, defense gave up 3.1 yards per carry. Not bad. Not bad. That one play obviously shifts it a little bit,
Squeeze the numbers.
Yeah, exactly. The Indianapolis Colts as a team overall, right? They had more yardage, both in the passing and the running game, right? More yards per play, more first downs, better third down efficiency, more total plays, right? More time of possession. They should have won this game if not for 4 turnovers for the second straight week in a row by Gardner Minshew. Now, a couple of these turnovers, I can't really put them all on him. I can't. Now, in a way, you do, because he has the football. He's got to protect it, right? But Miles Garrett just made plays this game. Miles Garrett was a freaking monster. If it wasn't for Miles Garrett, Colts win this by 3 scores or more, right? I mean, it is what it is. That dude is a beast. And right now, he is playing not only for Defensive Player of the Year, well, I feel like he might be that one dude on defense that is pushing for NFL MVP, because he is playing at that level where he could take over a game. And, this is one of those situations where you look at and go, if not for him, they don't win, right? What are your thoughts on Miles?
I said it last week. I mean, for anyone who listens to us, weekly and heard that our show last week, I said it. I said Miles Garrett is hands down, arguably, and this might not be arguably anymore, is the best player on defense in the NFL, hands down. Like, you could argue Micah Parsons, you could do all that, but the way that how physical he is, he's able to overpower, make a play when it counts, just shift the whole football game. If he's not on the field, Colts win this game. You can't say that about a lot of players on defense. You can say, a DB gets a pick, he'll get a pick back. But the way that he shifts the game, like, he alters a game plan. Like, he require, and then when it's time where you have to play football and you can't double team him or whatever, slow him down, like, he's going to make a play. It just is what it is. And so you're right. Statistically, right, a team, when you lose a turnover battle, you lose the football game. You win the turnover battle, you have a higher percentage of winning the football game. The Colts here, they deserve to lose just off of having 4 turnovers, period. I don't care who's giving up the turnover or make it like creating losing the ball. You deserve to lose the game, because the most important piece on that field is possessing the football. So we can talk about all the stats we want. Rushing yards, receiving yards, time of possession. We can talk about all of it. It sounds great. Yeah. That team won. If you told me all those things, the team we're talking about, they definitely won. It wasn't even close. You're telling me they lost? Well, some other stuff happened. Let's look at the turnovers. Let's look at overall play. Let's just look at when it's time to go get a play, when it's time to make something happen, when it's time to fight for the extra yard, when it's time not to get a kick block, right? We can't have those miscues, those mishaps. That's what really separates. And people see in this league, it's like there's some teams that are just bad and they come out and they don't compete. And then there's teams that are like always in it but can't win it. And it's because of the simple things that they need to clean up defensively, offensively, special teams wise, and just being more disciplined. And quite frankly, like until we can do that, we're just going to be, one of these frustrated Colts fans that are sitting there always talking about, we did this, we did that. It ain't the refs' deal at the end of the game to decide the game. You got to take it out of the refs' hands during the game, like, saying something from the first kickoff. Like, we got to play hard. So, like, like we can get on those last two calls and they could have gone, certain ways. And I know we're not thinking it's DPI. There's a lot of gray area when you say a ball is, uncatchable or, legal contact, and we can, Colts fans will debate that as well. But it's just like you look at it and go either way. The call was made, though. Should never had to happen to where the call had to be made and determine the outcome of the game. So whether right, wrong, or indifferent on the refs end, we let it come down to that. And quite frankly, they're getting paid too, and they got to throw something. If it looks fishy, now if it's second quarter and it's 2nd and 6 and that call's made, all right, we live to see another down. It's not going to affect the game, hopefully the outcome of the game. But this happened crunch time. When the Browns needed it, we don't need to have a miscue. Kid gets beat. He has to resort to trying to get some type of recovery on the receiver. Well, the ref's right there. He's going to call it because it's tight. It's all eyes are on that exact play. It happened right in front of him, and then it happens to the young kid again. So it's just like it's unfortunate from a player standpoint to see that happen to him because his mind, his psyche is rattled at that point. He doesn't want to get beat, and it happens, right? Or for example, we talked about it coming out of the end zone. Right. And it's time Miles Garrett gets the sack fumble. And, that's tough on an offensive tackle with a guy like Miles Garrett. That's a tall, order to fill.
Especially when it's a rookie.
Right. And like all those things are happening. Right. And this kid's like, never went against it. He knows who Miles Garrett is. He's been knowing who Miles Garrett was since he was in high school. And here it is in crunch time when you got to block him. You can't have a miscue. This ain't on the 50 or the 40. This is on the 2-yard line where the quarterback is in the end zone, right? And Miles knows how to beat you, and that's why he gets paid the big bucks and all that. So there's a lot of things that happen in the course of this game where we can't pinpoint, say the ref screwed us over. Yes, don't beat me up on Twitter. Don't beat me up on all these different platforms. When we talk about this, that I'm wrong or right. Listen, it ain't about that. Calls were made. Yes, they're questionable. They're debatable. I'm not on anybody's side when it comes to the calls. I'm on the player side, right? I don't screw the refs, but we allowed it to come down to them. So at the end of the day, do we deserve to win the football game? No, we don't deserve to win the football game because we didn't do anything deservingly to win the football game. Taking care of the football's number one priority, period. We didn't take care of the football. So do we deserve to win? Our chances of winning our cuts are slimmer than none because we didn't do that. So we can talk about all the X's and O's and all that, but we just didn't execute when it was time.
Yep. So the Browns scored 4 times, getting 17 or less yards to score. They had a 6-yard drive that ended in a field goal. That was after the Denzel Ward interception, which, by the way, was a hell of a play by Denzel Ward. He jumped that route like nobody's business and got that interception. Then they get another field goal, 17 yards after, a fumble. So that's 6 points right there. Freebies, strip sack touchdown, right? That's another one. And then, of course, the blocked field goal, and they got a whole, I think, what was it? 17 yards. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what it is. I mean, they got 16 points off of 4 drives and all 4 or 4 opportunities to score, getting only 17 or less yards. That's what turnovers do. We discussed this last week, right? Against the Jaguars, same exact situation. Jaguars scored 17 points off turnovers where they didn't have to drive more than 40 yards, right? And that's nuts. The exact same thing happened again against Cleveland. Look, the Colts defense, I thought, played overall a phenomenal game considering the situation they were put in. Look, I get it. 39 points, a lot of points. You look at that and go, holy crap, that defense must have been awful. But look, they only gave up 4 of 16 third down efficiency. 4 of 16. That is freaking amazing. You see that, you automatically think, well, that team wasn't able to move the ball at all. They gave up 4.4 yards a play per play. again, really good. But when you're put in a situation where, you got to give up 15 freaking field goals, then that's not a good sign. They gave up 2 drives of 40 or more yards, bookend, like I said, bookend drives, which you could, put that on busted coverage, right? Both of them. You had that catch by, I can't remember his name, down the sideline for the Browns. Cooper was covered really, really well. That dude was wide open right there on the sideline. Great pass while getting hit, right, by P.J. Walker. That was just a fantastic play by the Browns offense on that to make that big play downfield. And then, of course, that big 67-yard run, where you had missed opportunity by the defense to make a tackle, right? So that's, couple missed plays there. But for the most part, everything else, I feel like the defense did their job incredibly well. But I got a question. How does that feel? How does that work for an offensive guy? See, you're an offensive lineman. You got a guy like Blake Freeland or our second-year guy, Bernard Ryman. Both of them had to deal with Miles Garrett all day today, right? One-on-one. Occasionally you'll get a tight end out there that as he's going by, he just hits him with his hand, and that's about it. The chip, how do you walk into this game in a situation like that, mindset wise, and how do you keep yourself in a positive mindset when you're getting beat play after play after play by someone of Miles Garrett's talent?
So you're gonna, as an NFL player, as a player that's a competitive player, to get to this level, you have to be competitive. You have to be hard on yourself. You have to, compete, and you have a will to compete. Going against guys in the NFL, everybody's good.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, we can tell about, this guy sucks. You line him up against anyone else that's not in the NFL, and he will destroy that person. Not even close. I don't care what position it is. It won't even be close. So we can, as a fan looking in on it, just throw that out the window. These kids are good.
Yeah.
They would not be in the NFL if they were not good.
Absolutely.
For the most part, they're above average. And they are above average allows you to win, I would say, 70 to 80% of the time in the NFL, offensive line wise. And that means just keeping the quarterback clean. That means, not allowing QB hits. That means, doing your assignment, blah, blah, blah. But there's also that upper echelon player that you have to go up against. And when the above average player goes up against that upper echelon player, the gap is just, it's insurmountable. It's not even close. Miles Garrett is one of those guys that he's an upper echelon player. And if you don't have a very good offensive tackle to block him, you're just going to be a long day. These kids they have to forget about this game. They have to forget about this game for the rest of the season because it's going to do them no good to dwell on it confidence-wise. And that goes for any position. You get burned up top as a corner, it's the next play. It's the next game. Like you might go up against a AJ Brown or something like that who's just going off, or a Tyreek Hill that's going off, and you got speed, but he's got track speed. He's got a different speed that no one in the league can keep up with. And so, like, for these young tackles, forget about it. Because guess what? A couple of weeks ago, he did Trent Williams even worse. And Trent Williams, to me, is a Hall of Famer. He's the best left tackle in football right now. Arguably, like, I think that the dude's amazing. He's tossing like a rag doll. So if we see him do Trent Williams like that, as a player, I'm watching film, so I've watched the last 4 games. I always go back 4 games and watch 4 games worth of tape in the week. And I see the Trent Williams film, I'm like, all right. If this guy, all we can do, it's just like having a great player in basketball. He's going to get his 40. LeBron's going to get his 40. Curry's going to get his 40, right? We just got to contain him. He's going to get his 40. I don't care who you put it. He's going to get his 40, right? Miles Garrett's going to get his sack. He's going to get his he's going to get his QB hits. He's going to get them. We just got to lower and lessen the chances of him, being successful by helping them out with the chips, with the running back releasing out the backfield, yada yada yada. But when your number's called, it's time to put on your big boy pants and play football. Because damn it, you're getting paid too.
I mean, in hindsight, with as much effect that Miles Garrett had on this game, I personally, I just watched the tape. Let's say I'm a coach. I'm watching the tape, seeing what he did to Trent Williams, seeing what he's done all year long, right? I'm like, I can design plays where there's only 3 or 4 guys going out for routes. Why don't I just take my best blocking tight end and follow that man around, and it's a guaranteed double team on Miles Garrett the entire game? Doing that, I think, changes the outlook and complexity of this game dramatically. Now, granted, this is hindsight. I'm talking about this after the game, right? I understand that, hindsight is 2020, but is that an actual option? Have you ever seen that in the NFL where a tight end just follows a defensive player and helps on double teams in situations like that? Like,
not per se following the whole game, but 80% of the time in like third down, someone's coming to help. The tight end's going to line up on that side. The running back's going to help chip because they know they need it. Now, granted, the Colts probably should have had some help on that on the sack fumble play in the end zone, the strip sack or whatever. It should have been, some help for that young kid out there. Put him on the island is a tough situation for him. That's just a bad. The outcome, like I literally was like, it's Miles Garrett time. I didn't say it out loud. I was like, if you need a play from your playmaker, he's gonna make it right now, and he made it. So, but across the field, you got to understand that there's a high probability that he's gonna make a play. There's a high probability that in this situation he's gonna get pressure. Mm-hmm. Another guy that I could compare him to is a Julius Peppers. Right, Julius Peppers was one of those guys where it was time to line up and make a play. He had guys rattled. Miles Garrett has guys rattled right now, and they get out of their game. And the last thing you want is a young guy to get out of his game because he's going to get ran through or whatever happened. Like you saw what happens when guys get nervous and stuff like that because emotions are real. So you got to do whatever you can to help them out, but at the same time you can't dummy the play like your playbook or shrink your playbook down. Just to contain one guy when you're paying a guy money that he needs to do his job as well. You want to contain him, but you're really taking away from your pass game and some check down stuff like that with having the chips and having the running back come out the backfield to help the tackles out. Quite frankly, in my opinion, like if I was a tackle and throughout the whole week you told me you're going to bring this tight end over, I got a problem with that. Because of my pride now. Like, what are you saying? I can't do it? I've seen him do guys like that, but I got to play too, right? A little help every now and then is warranted, but you're not going to change the whole game plan or shrink the playbook just to help me out. Now you're hurting the rest of the team. So I think a lot of the coordinators see that and they try to simulate it in practice. So whoever Miles Garrett's going to be that week, it's impossible. But it just comes down to guys being prepared. And quite frankly, are you good enough to block them? And some guys just aren't good enough to block them. And that's why they're Hall of Famers. That's why they're so disruptive. And, some guys just aren't good enough to block that man. And hats off to him. But he changed the whole game. And he won the game for him.
Yeah, you brought up Julius Peppers as a comparison. And yesterday I put up J.J. Watt as a Colt fan. That is that dude, the guy that would come in and just completely wreck a game, As a Colt fan, I have seen J.J. Watt do what Miles Garrett did yesterday.
I've been on the field and seen him like wreak havoc. You know what I mean? So, but one thing is, I'll say this: Gardner Chairless used to play for the Colts when I was here, the right tackle. Gardner and JJ used to go at it from the times when Gaz was in Detroit. Go at it with JJ. He didn't take no mess from JJ. Like the thing was, you can't let guys get going. You can't, if you let them get started, the motor gets going. You got to shut them up from the beginning. And got one thing guys did well with JJ was when we came to the Colts together was he went right at him from the jump. I'm talking about like, Like I'm gonna let you know today, like you're not gonna start chirping, you're not gonna start thinking you're a bully, you're not gonna start doing extra pushing, you're not gonna start doing none of that. And that all plays a part in the game when you set the tone. And so when you have young guys that aren't setting the tone, because maybe sometimes the older guys are just so kind of, mild. Like we were rough. Like anybody that knows me, when they play with me, like I'm chirping. If we got to fight, we got to fight. It just is what it is. It's a war down there. It's a battle. It's grown men. You trying to eat my food. I'm taking your food off the table, right? And sometimes I feel like these guys don't have that mentality sometimes, or somebody's not in the locker room. It's like laying the law down and making sure everyone's got the right mentality, because, to win up front, you got to be a mean guy. No nice guys up front, period. You got to be a dog. And so, like, when you see this, you're like, man, who is going to set the tone up front? Who's going to set the tone for the whole team? Who's the tone setter? Who's the guy that's going to be you? But you chirp and you talk, but you lead by example. Who's going to be that guy, right? And so sometimes teams that have that identity, and the teams that don't. And sometimes I wonder who's the guy, offense, defensive league. Who's the guy on the team? Period. To set the tone, right? To get guys going to be dogs. If you be the bully, you be the aggressor. Let's put our foot on someone's neck and not let up the whole game.
Something that just baffles my mind. Look, Gardner Minshew did not throw the football 55 times with those 4 turnovers. He dropped back 23 times. He had 23 attempts, right? 305 yards and 2 touchdowns and 23 attempts is freaking stupid, nasty good.
Right.
But the Colts did exactly what we said they needed to do, run the football. Jonathan Taylor and Zack Moss both had 18 carries in this game. That's 36 carries between 2 running backs. That's amazing. Jonathan Taylor, would you consider this a breakout, his welcome back to the NFL game? 18 carries, 75 yards, plus he had 3 catches for 45 yards. So you're looking at, a guy who had over 120 yards from scrimmage today on his 3rd game back of the year, and technically did so well. It seemed like he got, the NFL decided that caught their attention, is like, here's a bottle, go pee in it.
Yeah, no, Jonathan's he's a special player regardless. It's only a matter of time before he gets his feet, back wet and ready to go and all that. And I watched a little clip of something he did on another podcast, and I don't know the name of it. But he was saying, I think it may have been that one. He was like, Colts fans are like, talking crazy, like, dang, can I get my feet wet? Can I get a couple carries? Can I get back in the groove of things? But I feel him, right? And so it's only a matter of time before he has his 100-yard rushing game. He's going to have his, 75 yards is close enough, right? I mean, couple more, one run would have broke him over 100 if it was a good run, right? So he's getting close. He's getting back to the player that he used to be. I don't know if he'll be 2 years ago, Jonathan Taylor, right? 2 seasons ago. We hope it is, right? We don't know, but he is going to do some good things, and he's going to be hard to contain. It's only a matter of time. I wasn't harsh on Jonathan Taylor. I was harsh on the situation, right? Like, I just say, like, healthy, ready to go. He's dynamic. There's a reason why he got paid that money, because the Colts know that he can do those things. I just don't like all the other stuff about how we go about, from a team standpoint, from a player standpoint, how we go about getting to a common ground. I think sometimes, it can be a little less broadcasted, a little less out in the public, a little less of a distraction. If sometimes, I get it's a business, but, they came to an agreement, they got it done. But at the end of the day, Jonathan Taylor had a great game. Total yards that he had on offense, he's getting back into form. And that's another good thing that we could take away from this game is, you have another weapon getting back into form. And my whole thing is, I just hope that, Zack Moss doesn't get lost in the shuffle of Jonathan Taylor getting back into form, because it will be a great 1-2 punch for them both to be able to get these carries and both have solid rushing days where you have 200-yard rushers. That's recipe for wins. 200 yards on the ground every game, averaging. You're going to win football games that way. So, it's definitely a bright spot for Colts fans. I said, there's a lot of silver lining in this game. Defensively as well. We got to just build from this game. It's unfortunate, but we didn't do enough to win, and we didn't take it out of the refs' hands at the end of the day.
Yep. I think that's going to do it for us tonight. 30 minutes, plenty of time to discuss that game. We'll probably talk a little bit more about the situations in our upcoming preview game, which we'll have a guest for that as well, someone that covers the New Orleans Saints, maybe even a former player from that team. That'd be nice to have 4 of us on here all discussing and previewing that game. But until next time, I'm Lawrence Owen. That's Donald Thomas. This was Believe in Colts, brought to you by Bet Online. And as usual, go Colts.
Colts.
Do you believe?